Welcome to the mystical land of Japan. But don't be mistaken, this is no ordinary Japan. This is Shadow Japan, a country where the concept of daytime hasn't been invented yet. Here, your social status is directly proportional to how fast you can drive a horseless carriage. My name is Kiryu, an average Japanese man with enough fighting skills to take down entire clans. But somehow I haven't acquired a driving license yet. My sworn brother, Majima, won't stop roasting me about it, so here I am, on a quest to escape the terrors of Japanese public transport. The first thing to happen when I arrived was that my old friend, Joe Biden, called me and told me that he couldn't lend me one of his cars for the driving tests, since he sold all of them and ran away. Fortunately, I found a comically large pile of money in his garage. With that, it was time to visit a reputable and respected car dealer to pick out my vehicle. My buying choices were plenty: a Nissan with an engine misfire, a Nissan with no fuel, and a Nissan with rat shit inside. I chose the latter. Now, you might be wondering why I opted for the Nissan 200SX instead of the 180SX. Well, my dear viewer, it's simple mathematics. 200 is greater than 180, case closed. Plus, it came with an automatic transmission, a thoughtful choice to avoid traumatizing my American audience with the arcane sorcery of manual gear shifting. Unfortunately, after purchasing my vehicle, I became financially challenged. And even worse, my vehicle was too slow to be eligible for Japanese driving tests. So we had to make some modifications in reverse, which meant removing everything that wasn't needed for driving responsibly. But first, I had to change the oil and open the sunroof for better aerodynamics. It was time to simplify and add lightness. Front bumper? Useless. Hood? Who needs this? Fenders? Overrated. Rear bumper? Not today. Side skirts? Bye bye. Carpets? Floor mats? Way too heavy. Passenger seat? Bold of you to assume I have friends. Rear seats? No one fits there anyways. Door cards? More like door don'ts. And finally, installing new tires. And yes, they grip. And don't forget to check your fit. Ah yes, I shall call you Ratshit1. Then, after driving out of the garage, I got instantly called by the Japanese Driver's License Testing Committee, or JDLTC for short. And now I was in debt. Apparently getting your driver's license was quite expensive. After the call was done, I was instructed to drive to the Tatsumi parking area to start my driving tests. You might ask, aren't you driving quite fast and unsafe? Well, dear viewer, since I didn't have a driver's license yet, I didn't understand the concept of a speed limit. When I arrived, I saw that the test area was currently administered by the G-Spot company. Also, since Japan is just like anime, the process of getting your license consisted of beating your opponents in a tournament-style battle royale, where you have to earn enough hype to get recognized by the instructors. So you can challenge them, and if you can beat them, you shall get your license. Our first opponent was Daisuke, a guy who just insulted my American viewer base. Clearly this guy needed to be taught a lesson. We settled on a race bet of 420,000 yen.
Nice.
And the showdown began. The race was taking place on Arakawa Bridge.
What a fucking...
But right at the start of the race, Daisuke made a severe mistake. He challenged me to a race at the exact moment when the song Emotion Engine started playing. Needless to say, I absolutely demolished him. But Daisuke, now in a dire financial situation, proposed a double or nothing race. However, right before the race was about to start, Toshi called me to tell me about Daisuke's tragic backstory. You see, when Daisuke was born, both of his parents had failed to show up. This tragic beginning had forced him to claw his way up the corporate ladder, from lowly intern to the illustrious position of senior assistant manager of caffeinated beverages. Now, if he lost this race, he would be deported back to the realm of part-time workers. Toshi offered me 630,000 yen to throw the race, allowing Daisuke to keep living his moderately satisfying life. After hearing his heart-wrenching backstory, I did what any kind-hearted individual would do. I annihilated him again. It was his fault for not choosing to be born rich. On to our next opponent. His name was Haruto. His car was a Toyota Mark II with slightly more power than my car. We settled for a 620,000 yen wager. And at the start of the race, his engine sound made me shit myself so hard that my car's engine transformed from a 4-cylinder into a rotary. Despite this, the race went smoothly and I won without a single incident. Haruto wanted a double or nothing, and again, without any issues, I emerged victorious. After the race, I noticed my fuel was getting low, and we surely didn't want to run out of fuel mid-race. So I filled up with high-quality dinosaur juice and headed back to Tatsumi parking area. Next on the hype ladder should have been Keisuke, but let's be real. Even though I was playing on the highest difficulty, these chumps were no match for me. Getting cocky, I skipped straight to the next hype beast, Sakura. But this broke ass refused my 790,000 yen wager. Fine, on to the next 550 horsepower, what the fuck? Alright Sakura, 780,000 yen you said, right? And this is why Sasuke left you on multiple occasions. She wanted the double or nothing rematch, but at the start of the race, Haruto, that nice guy, called and asked me to let Sakura win. He offered me 1.22 million yen for it, knowing how much Haruto liked Sakura. I decided to let her win by purposefully crashing into a truck. But then Sakura tried to assassinate me by crashing into me at full speed. And bish, I ain't letting that slide. Downshift turbo boost no jutsu! And I won without a single issue. Sakura messaged me after the race, confessing that she got paid to lose on purpose. Maybe I had a secret admirer as well. Arriving back at the testing grounds, Shota called me. "You better not waste my time," he said. "Bro, you called me. Are you stupid?" We settled for a wager of a 1.01 million yen. Haruto called me again, asking me to lose to Shota on purpose, and he wait a minute, hold the fuck. The race started and I was ahead for most of it. However, Shota's car had more than double the horsepower of mine, and a higher top speed. Since the race had quite a lot of turns, I managed to stay ahead. But there was a long straight to the finish line, and he kept getting closer and closer. Fortunately, the straight wasn't long enough for him to fully catch up. But when I passed the finish line, he was only 54 meters behind me. After that close race, the first night had concluded. After waking up the next night, it was time to upgrade Ratchet 1. I thought my power was still enough, so my upgrades mostly consisted of handling parts. Cue the upgrade music. Oil change, semi-slicks, baller wheels, the roll cage, the racing seat, upgraded brakes, control arms, coilovers, race differential, check your fit again, spoiler, front bumper, rear bumper. Behold, Ratchet 2. After arriving back at Tatsumi parking area, I noticed that I generated quite a lot of hype the night before. So I got ready and approached the instructor, SK, a driving teacher known for his aggressive driving style. His horsepower, unknown. His driver's license, revoked. The wager of this race, 1.41 million yen, and it was a best of 5. Race 1 started well, but I got cocky and overbraked at the tunnel entrance, so SK took advantage of the situation and passed me. While close behind him, even with the slipstream, I couldn't catch up to him. He had just too much power, but in the following corner, he made a mistake and actually braked. What an idiot. So I passed him, but he stayed close and was right on my ass, literally sniffing it. Then I drove through a speed trap at 174 kilometers an hour. But I was so poor that the shadow Japanese government didn't even want to take my money and just showed me my current account balance. Even while being poor, I could still build up a lead over SK. But then I made a mistake. I didn't see on the high quality map that I had to take the next exit on the right. So I dodged this truck on the left and crashed. SK passed me, and after squeezing through the highway exit, he had already finished. It was my first loss. Race 2. No more time for mistakes. SK had superior power, but I had superior handling, and I could kinda keep up with him through the slipstream. At the entrance of the tunnel, he overbraked, and I kissed his ass with my bumper. We battled for a little while, but he took his revenge and rammed me into traffic. Trying desperately to catch up with him, I crashed into another truck. This time, I went through the speed trap at 198 kilometers an hour, and Shadow Japan had enough of my bullshit and fined me. But it was worth it. I was catching up to SK. I finally caught up to him and battled to overtake him. But then, I remembered that I still had plans to drive into a wall and die. Race 3. I had a slight problem now. If I lost this race, I would lose the 1.41 million yen bet. And yeah, I kinda didn't have any money left, so when the third race was about to start, I went into Zen mode and completely focused. Jumped the start. It was time to lock in. After the race got going, I overtook SK and stayed ahead throughout the entire race. And right at the end, the wall that lost me the last race only scraped me and I won, baby! Race 4 was basically an auto win since Emotion Engine was playing once again. During the race, I mildly crashed into traffic, but I still stayed ahead. SK, on the other hand, pulled the Autobahn Audi driver for basically the entire race. I also crashed into the same goddamn truck that cost me the first race. But I managed to stay ahead and won by less than a second. Race 5. It was 2-2 now. My past self also just realized that I had no more fuel left. But there was nothing I could do, so I just had to hope that I could finish the race with basically an empty tank. My racing this time was perfect. Not a single mistake was made. And I also blasted through the speed trap at 199 kilometers an hour, which almost made me go bankrupt. I was getting very close to the finish line. My car was basically running on air now. But I still made it to the finish line and beat SK. With this win, I paid off my debt and was finally ready to receive my driver's license. I could almost taste the sweet plastic of the... Wait, what? You're telling me I'm not getting my license yet? Just because I didn't smash that like and sub. Time to race the plebs once again, to pump up my hype so I could challenge the final boss. First up, Keisuke. But wait, what does that sound? Oh, it's just my empty pockets echoing. Turns out that paying off your debt doesn't change the fact that you're still broke. Damn, Night Runners is quite a realistic game. Plan B, time to shake down Sakura for her lunch money. Again. The race was insanely close, but I won by a hair's margin of 45 seconds. Post-race, Sakura called to deliver her critique. Your piece of shit Nissan was taking up the entire road. Feeling generous and broke, I accepted her double or nothing proposal. This time, it was actually quite close. She was only 12 seconds behind me. Oh, my bad, it was 1 minute and 12 seconds. Now that I had a little bit of money to spare, I could upgrade Ratchet 2. First I installed an upgraded radiator, engine block and air filter. And the most important upgrade of them all, I changed the blow-off valve sound, so it did the Ratchet 2 Pro Plus 5G was born. After I got out of the garage, the JDLTC called me and told me to pay up for the next phase of the driver's exam, so I was back in debt. Keisuke was next on the hype ladder. The race was quite long, but went perfectly fine without a single incident. I won by 57 seconds. I don't know, but it seems like I have become the Max Verstappen of Night Runners. I meant the racing part, not the getting beaten by my dad part. My next race was against Akira. The race was quite easy, but Akira did stay quite close to me during the race. To be honest, I think this video will get quite boring now since no one could really compete with me anymore.
Come on! Power!
Damn, Night Runners was just not challenging anymore. So yeah, I really don't know why, but something was telling me that my handling and durability upgrades weren't going to cut it anymore. To stay ahead of my competition, I needed boost. And a fender so my car looked less dogshit. We now had 444 horsepower and a top speed of 246 kilometers an hour. The looks were still questionable but improving. Ratchet 3 was born. Arriving back at Tatsumi parking area, I spotted the final boss, Star Tamer's Nissan Skyline R34. Trying not to aggressively shit myself while walking past him, I knew I was getting close. But I wasn't strong enough to face him yet. My next opponent was Toshi, a man famous for once being the absolute strongest driver in Shadow Japan. Literally, like, look at this dude. Now, he was a little bit past his prime, but at least now he fit properly in his own car. He was definitely not to be underestimated. We set the wager at 1.38 million yen. Our first race kicked off, and damn, he was sure faster than me. But I had a secret move up my sleeve. Race breathing, first technique. Brake later. From here on out, the race went smooth as butter, until it didn't. Toshi was closing in on the finish line. In the final corner, I had no choice. If I wanted to win, I had to unleash my next ability. Race breathing, second technique. Wall riding. And right before the finish line, I overtook Toshi and won by a single second. I challenged Toshi again. Same wager, same race. He was again faster off the line. But in the following corner, I accidentally confused my special moves and used race breathing, fourth technique, crash into a truck and die. But it was fine, I survived my death, and I still had time to catch up. At the last corner, I was getting quite close to overtaking Toshi. It was time again to wall ride my way to victory, and who put this truck here? So yeah, I lost. My money, my hype, my aura, decreased significantly. After the race, Toshi called me and offered me a chance to win back my money. A double or nothing. It was time to get serious. I used my second technique, wall riding, to get past Toshi in the first corner. He clung to my tail the entire race, but couldn't catch up to the Ratchet Express. Victory! 23 seconds ahead. Another race against Toshi, but this time on a different route. Unfortunately for him, Emotion Engine started playing, but Toshi also had an ace up his sleeve. He knew that I was playing on an OLED monitor, and he timed the race perfectly, so my monitor would show me the pixel refresh message in the middle of our race. So basically, I couldn't see shit. After dealing with that problem, Toshi didn't stand a chance of winning anymore. The race was quite long, but I completely destroyed Toshi. In fact, I destroyed him so hard that he lost, even though his time was faster? Anyways, I had paid off my second debt, but I still needed a little bit more hype to challenge Star Tamer. So it was back to bullying Toshi. But he ghosted me and stopped picking up the phone. I guess the next best one was Akira? The race was, as expected, quite Fuck!
You don't know a damn thing about racing!
JP's pulled the trigger on his nitro in the final stretch. He's making a break for the lead on a rocket ride as he pulls away from the second group.
He proposed a double or nothing. This time, Akira decided to race dirty and ramp me. And when I was starting to get close to him, I decided to instead crash into the exact same truck as last race. Up close to the finish line, Akira choked and I overtook him and won. Now I finally had enough money for the ultimate upgrade to Ratchet Free. The straight cut long gear ratio transmission. I also had a little left over for an upgraded intercooler, camshaft and engine head. My horsepower was now at 570 and my top speed increased to 319 kilometers an hour. Ratchet 4 was born. It was time to drive back to Tatsumi parking area and challenge the instructors. But first, I have to show you why I call this transmission the ultimate upgrade. Back at Tatsumi parking area, I had to beat SK again to be able to face Star Tamer. Wait, what do you mean I don't have enough money to race you? I already beat you! Okay, Toshi. This dude's still not picking up the phone! Akira! And the night was over. Since SK wanted a 1.4 million yen wager, I could spend a little bit on upgrades again. Front sway bar, rear sway bar, dash gauges, spark plugs, oil cooling, and exhaust manifold. The horsepower had increased to 671 and the top speed to 337 kilometers an hour. Ratchet 4 Nismo GTRS was born. It was time to challenge SK. What do you mean I'm missing 1,148 yen now? At least Toshi was picking up the phone again. Since I was basically breaking the sound barrier at this point, the only real threat to me left in this race was myself. After the race, Toshi proposed a double or nothing. I think this guy is a masochist. Finally, my rematch against SK. Last time, my victory was insanely close and involved quite a bit of luck. But this time, I was prepared. Our wager was 2.29 million yen, and once again, it was a best of 5, and the same route as last time. Race 1. I completely locked in and our race began. I crashed. He crashed. I crashed again. I overtook him, then crashed again. I respawned, so he crashed into me. We crashed into each other, but stayed at full speed. I crashed again. Then I tried to overtake. We battled, and he crashed. I missed the exit and crashed. But he fell through the map. So I won. A clear display of superior skill. Race 2. This time, I actually used my superior car properly and only crashed once into this truck. And this little wall tap. But the rest of the race went smoothly, and I beat SK by 18 seconds. Race 3 actually was a completely clean race. I was quite impressed with myself, especially since I was playing this game on a keyboard. I beat SK by 2 minutes and 39 seconds. Damn, probably had a stroke mid-race. Anyways, it was time to prepare for the final boss. My upgrades included a hood, new rear lights, exhaust, and I put down the sunroof for maximum aerodynamics. Installed a new steering wheel, aftermarket radio, another gauge, car repaint, upgraded intake manifold, fuel system, pistons, and ECU. I now had 922 horsepower and a top speed of 381 kilometers an hour. Ratchet Ultimate was born. It was time for the final test. Would I earn my driver's license, or would I fail? Before I could finish that thought, Star Tamer called me and hit me with that,
What, you think you're better than me?
but wait, I recognized this voice. It was Nishikiyama! Guys, I have to come clean. You might have noticed that I am too good of a driver to be a new driving student. I already tried to get my driver's license 10 years ago, but back then, my sworn brother Nishikiyama failed his final test and drove over an entire classroom of kindergarten children.
How do you like this?
But I took the blame for it, so Nishiki could stay free and get my driver's license. But after I came out of prison, Nishiki had already disappeared. Now I have found him, and apparently he runs a corrupt driving school. The time has come to fight my sworn brother over a wager of 4.1 million yen.
Bring that shit, Kazuma!
Race 1. Nishiki's engine was so fucking loud. It reminded me of what city people would call a calm and soothing night. Anyways, my car was absolutely insane and basically uncontrollable. So I may have crashed. But with this acceleration power, it didn't really matter. Nishiki sure realized that as well, because apparently, instead of racing me, he chose to use his phone while driving.
Oh, my shoulder!
But even with him actually dying, I only won by 6 seconds. Race 2. The race went as smooth as butter, and while I went at around the speed of sound, I decided to visit this man's ass. But I was already so far ahead that Nishiki couldn't even get close to me, and I won by a slight margin of almost 3 minutes. I don't know what happened, but I think he went through a drive-thru in the middle of the race. Race 3. This was it. My entire journey led up to this moment. After the race, Nishiki was so impressed with me that he came back from the dead and offered me a high-ranking position in his driving school. I obviously refused, since the driver's license was actually the friends we made along the way.